Today is the last day of May, and you know what that means. It's reading wrap time! Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Nanika, and today we are going to be going back to my book roots and talking about all the books I read this month. I read 12 books in May, which is a full 10 books less than May of last year, but it is tied with March for most books I've read in a month this year. May was a really fun reading month because I reread an old favorite series. I read a lot of hockey romance, and I started a new romantasy series that I'm quickly falling in love with. Before we get on with the video, as always, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. Let's get into it. So today is actually the 31st of May, so I haven't had time to properly calculate all my stats. So we're gonna forego the stats this month. We're gonna start straight off with the books, and the first book I read in May was The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This was a reread. I read this series for the first time in May of 2024, and I reread the entire series in prep for the off-campus TV show, which came out on the 13th. The first time I read The Deal, I gave it 5 stars, and this time around I also gave it 5 stars. If you are somehow not familiar with this book, it is a college hockey romance. It's the first in a series, and this one follows Hannah Wells and Garrett Graham. He is a hockey player, he's the captain of the hockey team, and he is failing this one pesky class that he can't seem to get a good grade in. Hannah is a musician, she's a singer-songwriter, and she is somehow acing this class, and he's like, what the hell, like, please tutor me. So they strike up a deal where she tutors him in exchange for him pretending to be her fake boyfriend so that she can get her crush's attention. I genuinely just love Garrett so much. He has so much sass and so much character, and I think they really nailed that in the show. And Hannah reminded me why she's my favorite off-campus FMC. The next book I read in May was the second book in the off-campus series, which was The Mistake. This is the only one I have physically because this is my favorite book in the series. This one follows Grace and Logan, and Logan is struggling with a little bit of a crush on his best friend's girlfriend. So he gets into this fling with Grace, and then he massively screws up. It is second chance, so you get to see both kind of chances of their romance in like the first and second halves of the book. I'm so excited for their season. I know season 2 has been confirmed to be Dean and Allie, but I'm hoping that they sort of develop Grace and Logan the way they developed Dean and Allie in the first season, at least, you know, pre-Paris. I'm hoping. Antonio really surprised me in the first season with how well his portrayal of Logan was, and I'm so excited to see what he does with India now coming and like filming season 2 with the cast. I'm so excited. The third book I read was The Score, and this one follows Dean and Allie. The trope is kind of one night stand secret relationship, and I actually increased my rating on this one. It was a 4, it went up to a 5. I remember Dean being like hot, like he was such a good MMC. I don't remember, like he was better than I remembered. I love Allie so much. I feel like with Mika, like with show Allie, she's being appreciated a lot more, but book Allie is like really slept on. The first book I read was The Goal, and I actually finished this the night before the show came out. Like I was speed running these books. My rating came out for this one as well. I gave this a 3.5 and it went up to a 5. John Tucker, I am so sorry for underappreciating you. Sabrina James, my queen. This book, given the fact that the first bit kind of overlaps with the last bit of The Score, I cried a lot. I am not the biggest fan of this trope. It is accidental pregnancy, but I feel like I didn't mind it here. Like it was a good book. Then I read The Legacy by Elle Kennedy, which is like the epilogue novel. And if you're reading this series for the first time, then I recommend you read The Legacy after you read the Briar U books. I gave this 3 stars, and I wasn't even going to read it given how Garrett mysteriously transforms into an asshole. But I binged the whole show, and then I was like, okay, I want more of this universe, so I went back and read it. I think Alexander, completely out of context, I think Alexander is my favorite plot point in this entire book series ever. It's so funny. Now, I had started on a hockey romance kick and I couldn't stop. And if you watched my 2025 reading wrap, you'd know I read like 20 books in May, and nearly all of them were hockey romance. Something similar happened here. Um, I then read Fair Game by Ruth Stilling, and this was one of my most anticipated reads of the year. Fair Game is the second generation spin-off of the Seattle Scorpions series, which is one of my favorite series ever. And what makes it even better is the MMC is the son of my favorite MMC ever. This book follows William Jones and Drew Callahan, and Will is the son of Jensen Jones from Dead Rinker. Please go read that book. The trope is hockey player ex-publicist and also childhood frenemies, because her dad also has a book that's called Rolled Out. You should also go read that. All I have to say is, she's done it again, because this boy is a carbon copy of his father and I am here for it. I love a man obsessed, and the banter with Drew was so... I loved it. I have no words for it. It was so fun getting to know like a new team of guys, because that's sort of how it works with like these interconnected romance, like these hockey standalones, these sports standalones specifically. You get to know like a new sports team with a new dynamic with new guys, and it's really fun. Then we had my least favorite book of the year, which was really sad, because this combination of tropes should be my most favorite in the world. It is a hockey romance and it is single dad nanny, but I gave it 2 stars. And this was The Au Pair Affair by Tessa Bailey. Listen, I tried really, really hard to like this book. I really did. I just think it fell really short on the execution. The characters were really flat. And I didn't like that it was written in third person. I feel like I prefer third person when it's a fantasy novel. I don't really connect with third person when it's like a contemporary romance novel. I also couldn't get past the fact that his name was Burgess. The spice was cringy, the dialogue was meh, and the pacing was kind of weird. And I just literally I kept forgetting where we were and what was happening, so I wouldn't recommend. Which is really sad, because this is my first Tessa Bailey novel and It Happened One Summer, but I don't know if I'll read it. Then I read the third book in a series that I'd started earlier this year, and this is Wild Darling by Alexandra Moody. I gave this 3.5 stars and I actually really, really liked it. This book is a YA hockey romance and it follows Parker and Mackenzie. Mackenzie is the daughter of Parker's hockey coach, and when their goalie gets injured, they need a new one, and nobody can play goalie like in their school except for Mackenzie. But Mackenzie's dad banned her from playing hockey after an incident with Parker a couple years ago. I loved Kenzie so much, and I loved their team dynamic, and I loved the way she was written, and I loved the way Parker was written, and I loved the whole storyline of Parker trying to find himself after his 2 older brothers graduated. Then I read my first fantasy series in a while. I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I gave this 5 stars and I have no words to describe it. Like my review is like, holy shit. The plot is really interesting, okay? It follows Araya, who was plucked out of a massacre when she was about 5 years old by the king of the Nightborn vampires. She's human and she's been raised in the king's castle her whole life. She's prepping to enter this once in a lifetime, once every 200 years competition known as the Kijari. And when she does, she's the only human there, and she forms an unlikely alliance with another vampire called Rain. It's so good. It's so good. The plot twists are genuinely insane. The ending is ridiculous. It makes you want to immediately grab the next book. I'm always down for deadly trials, and I was not disappointed. I loved Araya, and I loved being in her head and seeing how her upbringing, given that she was a human in a world of vampires, affected the way she thinks. Rain was really interesting, actually. Like, I loved learning about his backstory and where he came from and what his intentions are. It was, you don't get his POV in this book, but it was still like crazy. Then I read Six Scorched Roses, which is the novella in between The Serpent and the Wings of Night and the next book. And this is optional, you don't have to read it, but I did, and I'm very happy I did. The main two characters in that book are Lilith and Vale. Vale is a vampire. Lilith is a human who has known since the day she was born that she was going to die at a very young age. Basically, there is this plague that is ravaging Lilith's village, and so she goes to Vale and she offers him a rose in exchange for a vial of his blood. And she makes a deal with him. She says, I'm going to give you 6 roses in exchange for 6 vials of your blood, one every month. And that's the premise of this book. I won't give away anything else. But Lilith and Vale do show up in the next book, which was The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. This was my favorite book of the month. It is a chunky boy, and I read it in like a day. Like, I was invested. Okay, this is the second book in the Nightborn duet. So the way the Crowns of Nyaxia series functions is that it's made up of 6 main books, and those 6 main books are divided into 3 duets. So this is the Nightborn duet. Then there is the Shadowborn duet, which is the Songbird and the Heart of Stone, and the Lion and the something, whatever. And then the first book in the Bloodborne duet is coming out in August. So this one I can't really tell you much about because it would spoil the ending of The Serpent and the Wings of Night, but all I have to say is holy Rain Ashraj, okay? Rain, why don't people talk about him more? I'm just, the plot like that was set up in this book really intensifies in this one, and it was like I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. Like, I didn't know what was gonna happen next. I was freaking out. It was all I wanted in a fantasy novel. It was so good. If you ever choose to pick up a romantasy novel, please pick up these ones. They're so good. The last book, I'm counting this in my May Wrapped, I haven't finished it yet, but I'm almost done, is Slaying the Vampire Conqueror by Carissa Broadbent. This is also an additional novel in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. It takes place sort of around the same time as The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, and I'm pretty sure that the characters in this book do become major pivotal characters in the series later on. With that, we come to the end of our last video for May and our reading wrapped for May. Thank you so much for staying around if you watched the entire video. I'm so grateful for all of you. Comment down below what your favorite book of May was, and I will see you next time.